Okay, so you should train heavy, right? It's not like there's an option, where you can follow the hypertrophy thing, or like, you can like either be a power lifter. I mean, you have free will, of course, you can choose to do that, but you're forgetting the whole point of it, right? Is to be healthy, is to look good, and also be strong, right? So, in my opinion, you should train heavy, right? So that you could build the strength, right? And this video is going to be kind of me trying to convince you train heavy, but only after you have mastered these two key things, right? Not before that, because if you do, right, then it would be categorized into something we all know what is known as ego lifting, right? So when I say, like train heavy, I do not advocate in any way, shape, or form that you should be training, like a maniac, stacking up, 4 or 5 plates on your bench press, and maybe you die someday because took the half advice that I'm giving you in this video. No, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm going to tell you why you should train heavy, right? Why you shouldn't be. I mean, there's a whole 9 yards that I will be going into a little bit because I've already gotten into a lot of it in my, like, one of my other videos that I made about progressively overloading, right? I've gotten into autistic details on how to basically do progressive overload. The title of the video, I think it's one key thing I need to know if you're, crushing in the gym or not, something like that. But yeah, um, please make sure to watch that video. But let me tell you, like, why you should not be basically training to basically increase your rep ranges too much, and you should be increasing your weight on the bar um, after you have maybe achieved your desired rep range on a particular exercise, right? So let me, I mean, I know, like, it can be confusing, but I'm here, right? I'm gonna break it down everything for you, so that you have the simplest answer. You don't have to do the decision fatigue that I always talk about. So here's the thing: if you go maybe beyond 25 reps, maybe 30 reps, or even beyond that, what happens is that when you are in that zone where you cannot do more than, like maybe 25 reps of dumbbell curls or like side laterals, like, whatever exercise, what happens is that your central nervous system is also involved, right? Like from like rep 1 to the last rep, right? I mean, it's kind of like a like common sense thing. Obviously, your nervous system is involved in everything. Now, what happens is when you achieve failure, right, and your cardio has given up, when you achieve failure plus your cardio has given up, like, you're gasping for air, what happens is that your central nervous system gets tired, right? Your nervous system is what accumulates the muscle so that it could lift the weight. Your bones doesn't lift the weight, right? Your muscle does. Central nervous system accumulates the bicep for it to basically lift the dumbbell so that it can do bicep curls, right? So that how it, that's exactly how it works. And just think about it: if you're reaching failure, your cardio has given up, like your cardiovascular has given up because it's like really shit like me, but your cardio has given up, your central nervous system has achieved failure. What it'll do right now is it cannot perform at the level it was performing when you were in your first 5 to 10 reps, right? It is not able to accumulate the muscle fibers that is needed in order for to lift the weight, right? So what happens is that when you're reaching in the 25 to 30 reps or even more than that range, right, you're doing those reps, but it is hardly conducive to getting those micro tears in your fiber, micro tears in your muscle fibers that I always talk about, right? Those reps are pretty much useless, right? It is not absolutely conducive to basically getting those micro tears in your muscle fibers, right? Because what you're doing is that you're basically tiring and overloading your central nervous system, and that's absolutely not necessary for you to do that. What you can do in turn, and this is going to be kind of like like a bird's eye view, or like me skimming through the whole progressive overload thing, is that you can do basically two things, right? Like the way you do progressive overload, just by two things: either you increase the like amount of reps that you do at a particular weight, or what you can do is, as soon as you have reached your, I mean, by the way, this is what I do, and this is what I preach, and this is what I have seen, like fucking great results after doing it. So what you can do is either you can increase the amount of reps that you do, or what you can do is as soon as you have achieved your desired rep range, which by the way for me is 10 to 12, right? I do not go more than 10 to 12 reps on any exercise. As soon as I've achieved that, I increase the weight, right? That's how I do progressive overload weeks after weeks after weeks, right? As soon as I achieve maybe 12 reps for, 2 or 3 working sets that day, I increase the weight on the next week. That's how I do progressive overload. Now this is the whole scenario that where I was trying to convince you, please do, please train heavy, right? And you should train heavy, just because looking good isn't the only point. Being strong is also the, kind of the point. Plus, if you want to do cardio, please do some running, please do some walking. Please don't do cardio whilst doing uh, weight training. Which, by the way, this advice doesn't apply to the fat guys. Which, by if you are someone who's fat, please do much more reps, because that would also be some kind of cardio for you. That would you would burn some extra calories by doing much more reps, and it'll also be good for your cardiovascular. Yeah. So the two things that you need to keep in mind before pushing heavy weight are, first is range of motion, right? Provided that you are doing it with picture perfect form, like your form should be impeccable, right? Your range of motion is what determines that are those muscles getting involved or not that you are targeting, right? Let me repeat it. If your form is shitty, right, what it'll do is that, best explain with an example. Okay, if your form is shitty, let's say you're doing like dumbbell press. If your form is shitty, you're pressing the weight, right, and you're slouching, right? That's not the way to do dumbbell press, like incline dumbbell press, right? That's not the way to do. The way to do is like shoulders retracted, a little bit arch on your back, and that's how you should do it. If you are slouching, right, what will happen is that it will involve your shoulders, right? It will involve your traps too much rather than involving the whole upper pec, or maybe some like a little bit of mid pec, right? So that's the reason. Like everyone tells, I'm in picture perfect form, good form, impeccable form. Nobody exactly tells you why you should do that. Now you know why you should have an impeccable form, because if you're not doing it, bro, you are losing so many gains on the table. Plus, you are also increasing the chance of you running into some kind of injury. But anyways, the way you should do is that shoulders retracted, a little bit arch on your back, and then you should basically just press it, right, with your elbows tucked in a little bit. So provided you have an impeccable form and you go full range of motion, like I always said, I'm in focus too much on the eccentric portion of the muscle, like the stretched portion of the movement, because that's where the most amount of damage is made to your muscles. With good recovery, with good food, all of that stuff, it'll recover into much more bigger muscles. But full range of motion, provided that you have impeccable form, that's what you should be focusing on. Only after understanding the second point, which is intensity, right? What should I even say about this point? Because it's such an important point. Doesn't matter what kind of lifting career you are in, beginner, intermediate, advanced, intensity over anything, right? Because if you're not training intense enough, what's even the point of going to the gym? I'm thinking about it, bro. You're going to the gym, you're half-assing, right? And then you're going home, you're eating, your diet is clean. Maybe you're not seeing any results, and you think, hey, why I'm not seeing any results, right? It's because you're not fucking training hard, bro. Train super hard, train intense, right? Doesn't matter if you do 2 sets or 3 sets. Right now I'm at a point where I only do 2 sets. That 2 sets is intense as fuck, right? I train in very intense, right? And that's the reason I get soreness in my muscle with just only 2 sets, right? By the way, I'm not preaching you to do 2 sets, just saying what I do. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen my autistic breakdown on how many sets you should do, please watch it. You'll have a better understanding of what I preach based on your lifting career, like, based on the stage that you are in your lifting career. By the way, getting back to the original point, yeah, like, train intense, right? The amount of time you spend in the gym, make sure it counts to something, right? Make sure it means something. I mean, don't just show up at the gym, train half-ass, and then fuck off to your home and then think, hey, like, why I'm not seeing any gains. So yeah, like, good range of motion, intense training, impeccable form. As soon as you have mastered these things, right? Like, these things, then try to push heavy weight, right? And if you can do it, then do progressive overload the way I just explained. And it's that simple, like, really. So yeah, that's all I need to say. Peace.